And we're live. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin, and tonight I've got a really special show for you. We're going to be talking a lot about mental health, about what's happening in the markets right now in terms of the big crypto crash that was caused by Luna Terra basically being squeezed. And so I'm also going to talk about a giveaway that I'm doing for people who are willing to get help for suicidality. And so we'll talk about that as well and go over all the details. Stay tuned.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research. There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Next week, I'll have an updated intro, which I'm excited to share. But first, we've got basically bad news for all of the crypto markets here. I'm going to do a detailed review after I basically go over the big ideas, do some broad strokes, and talk about this topic of a new way to incentivize people to prevent suicide. And so that'll be one of the topics that we talk about today. So as you can see here in this tweet that I picked out, Luna, basically in the past 48 hours, Luna, a top 10 cryptocurrency, went down at least 95%. And this was as of this morning. And so I haven't checked it recently. And so it may have bounced around a little bit. I saw it going up and down more earlier in the day. Then the third largest stablecoin, UST, went down at least 52%. And then ANC, which is one of the largest DeFi protocols, went down 85%. The broader crypto market sold off about 33% in Bitcoin and Ethereum in the past week. And even Hex has taken a hit. However, I know that a lot of the people in the Hex market are time locked, and so they're not worried about the short-term price and still looking forward to Pulse Chain being launched in the next 14 days, according to Richard Hart. So another tweet that caught my eye here says that apparently there's been 8 confirmed suicides due to the Luna crash. And this person tweeting, "Stay strong and reach out to those struggling." Now, I also have a very detailed recap of what may have caused the Terra Luna attack by Wall Street and by hedge funds, but we're going to save that because the first topic that I want to get to here is having to do with a new challenge that I'm putting out. I set this up all today because I was so inspired to try to help people who are struggling with their mental health, and particularly those who are contemplating suicide because of the crypto crash, or people who are suicidal for any reason, whether they're in crypto or not, are eligible to participate in this tool that I've created. And so I'm going to go over the contents of this article that I just published just minutes before going live. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat here because I think that this is a really important topic, and it's something that everybody can get trained on and can make a normal part of their lives, being able to check in with others to find out if they are thinking of hurting themselves. And that's one way that we can keep each other mentally healthy and taken care of. And so the website that I chose for this, I might change it later on, but for now, the title here says cryptosaveslife.com. You can get paid crypto to prevent your own suicide. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I'm interested in this idea of programming mental health into money, and for people to be able to pay themselves to have better behaviors, whether it's losing weight or getting more sleep or eating healthier or being more active. In this case, I am going to be paying people to do suicide prevention steps. And so the detail here says, I will pay some of my crypto. I will pay you some of my crypto to complete these suicide prevention steps. And then we have a beautiful graphic that I designed myself by hand. And it says, Crypto Saves Life is an informal nonprofit founded by retired therapist Maddie ALLin. And then this is a cool, catchy phrase that says, the only thing in crypto that needs to go to zero is suicide. Hi, I'm Maddie ALLin. Crypto allowed me to retire from my job as a mental health and substance abuse therapist. I want to pay it forward by asking you to not commit suicide. All I can do is point you in the right direction and give you a little crypto. I can't be your therapist or be available for emergencies, but I hope that together we can save lives by increasing awareness, creating healthy incentives, and someday programming even more mental health into money. And then this is my little credibility shot. One of the most famous people I got a picture with at the Bitcoin conference. So the subtitle says, Maddie ALLin left takes a picture with Bitcoin YouTuber Anthony Pompliano at Bitcoin 2022 in Miami. Not really sure why I put that in there, I guess, because I don't have a in-person picture with Richard Hart yet, but that'll do for now to just be my picture of who I am for people who are coming in that maybe don't know who I am and they don't know about Hex, and they're just here to get some free crypto for doing these suicide prevention steps. So the overview for the steps to get paid crypto to get suicide prevention help. Step 1 is to determine if you need help. Step 2 is to follow simple instructions to create a safety plan that includes getting paid crypto. And 3 is to keep living and build a life with more and more natural rewards in it. So the instructions say follow these steps to qualify for getting paid to not commit suicide. Step 1 is determine if you need help. So I have linked here a suicide screener. And this is a screener that actually takes like 20 seconds to administer, according to the website. And that's the National Institute of Mental Health. It's part of their toolkit. It's called the ASQ, Ask a Suicide Screening Questions. And so the questions that we would ask anybody who we think would benefit from this is, or people who look like they're even having a hard day. That is something that we can normalize and make it so there's not so much of a stigma around people asking for help and asking if others need help. So it says, ask the patient, 1, in the past few weeks, have you wished you were dead? Yes or no? In the past few weeks, have you felt that you or your family would be better off if you were dead? Yes or no? In the past week, have you been having thoughts about killing yourself? Yes or no? Have you ever tried to kill yourself? Yes or no? If yes, how and when? And if somebody answers yes to any of the questions above, then it would be followed up with the question, are you having thoughts of killing yourself right now? And the person could say yes or no, and if yes, describe. And then the next steps are here very important. If somebody said no to questions 1 through 4, you wouldn't necessarily need to ask number 5, although it's okay to ask it. And then the next part says if the patient answers yes to any of the questions or refuses to answer, they are considered a positive screen. And basically what we would have the person do is to call, if they're in the United States, or actually probably anywhere in the world, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that's 1-800-273-8255. And there's a Spanish number as well. And there's also a way to just text, so that if you don't want to make the call, you can text home to 741-741. And it's really that simple, right? And so that's one of the steps that I'm asking people to do if they want to get their free crypto. I'm asking that people complete the screener and or call your local suicide hotline and speak to a professional who can treat you individually. Set up an appointment for timely care with a therapist and or a medical doctor. I can't be your therapist, but I'm excited that we are increasing awareness and access to resources. If you are suicidal now, please immediately call 911 or the 24/7 National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, or you can text, just like we talked about, that phone number. And so all these instructions are in the article here on my Medium page. And also, I know that about half the audience here on my YouTube channel is international and not living in the United States. And so I have an entire list of suicide crisis lines in every country where they are available. And so not every country can just call 911, but there's that information for people. And then there are more screeners that people can do if they're interested. It's not required for the giveaway, but there's like some depression screeners on here as well. I believe that's what the PHQ-9 is. And so that's another thing that could be helpful for somebody in determining whether they need any help at all. And so that's step one. Step two is to create a safety plan. So I've linked here to just this really simple safety plan. When you call a hotline for suicide prevention, they will have a safety plan, basically survey to go over with you on the phone. And they would make sure that you basically have all the components. And so this is an example. It is asking you to write down what your triggers are and your warning signs. What are your thoughts, images, moods, situations, and behavior where a crisis may be developing? It asks you to list like 3 different internal coping strategies, things that you can do to take your mind off of your problems without contacting another person. For example, relaxation technique, physical activity. Step 3 is where you're naming people and social settings that provide a healthy distraction. Step 4, people who you can ask for help. And step 5, professionals or agencies you can contact during a crisis. So your clinician 1, clinician 2, and then the suicide hotline. All these resources here can be listed if they're not already listed there. And so whether you're doing that safety plan or any safety plan that a professional would walk you through, that would count. And then here's where things get incentivized, is that you can look forward to getting paid 911 pulse tokens for getting help and agreeing to not commit suicide. Some limitations apply. You must follow all the instructions carefully to qualify. The offer is currently limited to the first 100 claimers to complete the safety plan verification survey and join the Telegram group for this giveaway. You could earn even more pulse tokens for completing additional mental health challenges in the future. So here are links so you can subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, and Medium. Pulse Chain is not live yet, so there's an estimated 2 to 6 weeks of delay in payment. I know that Richard is saying like 12 or 13 days from now, but I just want to keep people's expectations realistic. And yeah, so that's the main thing. The safety plan verification, I can walk you through that. It's just a SurveyMonkey thing that I created, and it's at surveymonkey.com/r/crypto saves life. And that's the name of this project, is Crypto Saves Life. And so you can get to it at cryptosaveslife.com. That'll take you to my Medium. It gives you links to t.me/cryptosaveslife. And anybody can join that. You don't specifically have to be somebody in a crisis. And remember that you're not supposed to send me personal messages saying that you're in a crisis, because if you're in a crisis, that means you need help from somebody who's on the clock, who's a professional in your state or country. And so I'm more than happy to hear when things have worked out for you when it's not an emergency situation. I'd love to know that. So the first question is, are you applying to get free Pulse tokens for getting your own local or national help with suicide? And you could say yes, and it'll take you to the next question. Then it'll ask you what your Telegram handle is, and ask you to join t.me/crypto-saves-life. So I would just do the example. I'd put in Maddie ALLin, because that's my Telegram handle. And then it says, in 2 to 4 sentences, please type your safety plan. Please note that this can't be responded to individually. If you need help, call a hotline again. And so here for a safety plan, like one example that I can put in is I plan to stay busy with healthy activities. You don't have to put in your entire safety plan if it's many, many sentences. I would hope that people would have as detailed of a safety plan as they possibly could have. But this is just for verification purposes. And this is to just basically screen people out who are trying to just get free crypto by lying about it. And I don't think that many people would do that, but here I'm just showing you an example of how to fill this out. So I would say in the first sentence, I plan to stay busy with healthy activities. And then, and you could be even more specific than that, like working out twice a week with an accountability buddy. And then you could say, I can call my father and girlfriend if I need help. I can call my therapist, my local therapist. There we go. Or hotline, right? I plan to get better at predicting when I'll go into crisis and prevent and problem solve. That's it. So that's a pretty good safety plan. You can decide how specific you want to be when you're sharing this with me. Again, I can't respond to it, but this is how I'm going to track who actually completed the task, right? And so I'm going to hit the enter button there, and then it's going to ask me to set up a metamask.io wallet and paste your address starting in 0x ... So again, if you want to send this YouTube video, or you want to send any of the links to this project to somebody that you know who's not in crypto, who just needs good, who needs a good reason to call a hotline because you suspect that they're in crisis, and you want them to get more education and more awareness about suicide prevention, right? Or if you're on Twitter or YouTube and you see that people are out there, saying suicidal comments because they've lost a lot of money in crypto, we're going to talk about that more here in a second, but feel free to shill this. You can shill all of this stuff. I think it'd be helpful to people. And so, go ahead and get the word out. I think, there are more people outside of crypto who are suicidal, statistically speaking, because crypto has not gone completely viral around the world yet. And I'm not sure which audience I'll appeal to the most, but I hope that these tools can help people who are in crypto now or people who don't have any crypto at all, right? And so that's why I've worded these instructions in this way. So I'm saying that this is the address where your Pulse tokens will be sent. Never lose or share your secret recovery phrase or seed words. And for me, I kind of have a hack here because I have an autocomplete of my public address. So it just goes in there automatically. I don't have to switch programs and type it in. So I put that in and then I hit done to submit. And so there we go. That is how you would fill out this survey. And that's the safety plan verification survey that allows you to qualify to get 911 Pulse tokens for getting help, and puts you into the set of people who might be able to earn even more crypto. No expectations and no promises beyond what I've written here, but I would love to see more and more opportunities to pay people to get them started doing healthy behaviors. I'd be willing to do that. And if anybody else wants to contribute, we can put funds together and try to build this out so that someday everybody in the world can be paying themselves to increase their motivation for increasing healthy behaviors and optimizing their people, places, and things. So, yep. So it says, step 3 is get more skills and rewards that make life worth living. If you're not on blood thinners, you could eat more foods with omega-3. There's a link to take you to the omega-3 supplement, which is like $5 to $10 at your local Walmart or wherever you get groceries. This could significantly increase the clarity of your thinking and problem solving. I know it helped me a lot. And you don't have to be suicidal to benefit from omega-3. It's also very useful to stay busy with healthy activities. And so I linked to a image of like a list of 50 things that you can do as healthy activities. These are things that you can do even if you just want to improve your mental health and your mental health is good. You could keep it good by trying a few positive affirmations, write 10 things you're grateful for, try a new face mask, breathe deeply, sleep, exercise, walk in nature, journal, make a vision board, declutter 10 items, right? The list goes on and on. So hopefully that could be helpful to people. Got it linked here. And then it says the last steps for now. Remember, to get paid, you must complete the survey. I link to it again, and join the Telegram channel. And at any time, we could make more conditions to stop scammers. But it's going to be limited to the first 100 people who complete these steps, that you're identifying with the screener that you need to call a hotline, and then you're calling a hotline for a real issue, real crisis that you're having, and then you create a safety plan, and the safety plan gets submitted along with you joining the Telegram group. The Telegram group is t.me/cryptosaveslives, right there. So I have no idea if we're going to get 100 people signing up very quickly, or maybe it'll take a long time to get that many people, but I hope that this is something that we can all promote and get the word out about. Um, and I'm going to spend the rest of this episode talking more about strategies to cope, even if you're down a little bit or a lot in crypto, even if it's not causing you to have suicidal ideation. There are still going to be a lot of people who could probably benefit from getting some hex therapy today, of all days. So here it says, if you want to help, you can share this information to the people who need it the most. I'm going to drop the links here in YouTube. And if you want to donate to the cause, you can drop a message in the Telegram group. Actually, it's a channel, so I'll have to update that and make it so that people can comment. But you can also send crypto to my official donation address. You can verify that across multiple social channels, like the YouTube conference videos. And this is the Etherscan address that starts with 0xFEED and ends with 919BB. And then I made some notes that increasingly better best practices come from scientific findings. And the bigger idea here behind the giveaway and the mental health challenge is that this mental health awareness campaign and challenge could be useful because contingency management has a stronger effect size than talk therapy. However, it's not used as much in behavioral interventions or to prevent suicide. And so we're doing something that's a little bit different, I think, by paying people pulse tokens to get help for suicidality and to create a safety plan. And then I also linked to an article that I wrote where it's over a year, probably 2 years ago now, where I describe a future where people can pay themselves to program mental health into money. And that's like one of the best articles I've ever written in my life, probably the best article. So I would highly encourage people. I have a link if you just go to 3gcrypto.com. And then the final note here is an important legal disclaimer. This is not medical or therapy advice. I cannot respond to individual messages. If you need help, please contact your local emergency services. This is free speech, not financial advice. Please do your own research. Awesome. So that's what we got for suicide prevention today. I hope it's helpful to people. I'm going to check in with the chat here, and then we'll get into more of the specifics of what happened, what caused this big sell-off in the crypto market, this crash of 3 major cryptos, and also what are more ways that you can protect your mental health. Thanks for the comment saying that this is a great title for the video. I sure put a lot of work into the thumbnail for this and the title and everything. So thanks for noticing. I'm gonna flash it here. We got all the crypto bubbles. I think it's cryptobubbles.com where you can see all of these, all of the daily. Actually, I think you could put it even for weekly, and you could see by market cap size and what the daily or weekly performance has been. So that's pretty cool. And then David, good to see you. INT Pro, the floor is lava, the walls are lava, the ceiling is lava, yet I'm feeling completely comfortable and secure sitting inside the Richard Hart ecosystem. Amazing. I think so too. I'm very comfortable with this bear market. You're admiring my mean mugging in the thumbnail, probably the first time you'll ever see a scowl in my thumbnail, but hey, got to keep it fresh, right? Shout out to all the over 3,000 people watched Hex Therapy last week. Shout out to you. Hit the like and subscribe button. I'm really trying to get to 10,000 subs on YouTube, so help me out there. Uh, what's up, MT Coiner, Uncle Larry, Melv Tony, good to see you guys. Buffo on the beat. Uh, thanks everybody in the chat for recommending. Hit the like and subscribe button in every way possible. Sandy Beach, good to see you. Crypto Gains Club, Mr. Anderson, what's going on? Melv Tony is saying that the price of Hex is currently sitting at 12.9 cents. Okay, so the price of Luna is just continuing to crash. Ouch. So I shared the links here. Bitfinesse is saying keep it cool. Good advice. DJ Polly, what's going on? Back to D. Also saying that Cardano has taken a dump. Somebody says I saved some of my gains in crypto by staking Hex. Thanks. I'm glad to hear that. Great pick with Pomp. You both look super happy. Thank you. What did he do right before we took that picture? He called up Peter Schiff and said, ha ha, I'm at the Bitcoin conference and gold is still down from 10 years ago. I thought he was possessed by the ghost of Richard Hart, in fact. But I found that very amusing, very fun. And he's a humble man. I spotted him with his iPhone 10. So he's must be stacking stats and not paying Apple every year. What if we're not suicidal? Then there may be an opportunity in the future where you can earn some of the crypto that I would give away. Or eventually we'll have tools so that you can pay yourself to behavior lock instead of just time locking. And so hopefully that'll be helpful. Yeah, everybody likes free crypto. I tried to make the value of this like just the right amount to where it's not a huge amount, but the fact that crypto the things that Richard Hart creates can go up 10,000x, I feel like it's a really cool, a forward-looking reward that I could give to people here when mainnet goes live in a couple weeks. And yeah, so there's tons of free crypto everywhere that scammers are not found. There's Pulse Dogecoin. You could get some free crypto there if you had Hex staked before 420 and claim within the first 200 days, within the first 100 days. And Hedron, continues to be an airdrop that. But gas right now is insane. That's the other thing we need to talk about today is how insane gas prices are. Yesterday, I was just spot checking, and I take screenshots just out of disbelief, not that I'm actually trading during these high fee situations at all. But yeah, I think I saw it was like $400 to do a swap, like for a sustained period of time, not just for a second. The GWE was at 1,000 or 1,100. And, normally it's like 50 or 100, and it's still expensive swaps of like $30 to $60. And then at one point I saw even just sending an ERC20 was like $200 or $300. At one point, even sending ETH was $150. Insane. What's going on, sticker guy? Great to see you here. Melv Tony, 12.9 cents on Hex. What's going on, Craig? Awesome to see you here. Gen Hex, awesome brand name. Nice work. Hex Down Under. Nice work on addressing the elephant in the room. That is, many people may take their own lives after losing their investment in the last few days. Nice work, Maddie. It's a serious topic, and I'm just hoping that we reach the people that we need to reach, and get the word out there that there's still so much hope and possibility in the crypto space. The fact that we've seen, right? If you're somebody out there who lost part of their life savings in this crypto dump, I want to remind you that, the volatility in crypto, while it can be a nightmare at times, um, it also creates many opportunities, because what we're realizing is that price discovery, it hasn't completely happened yet, and crypto hasn't gone viral yet. So you're already very early. There are members of the Hex community that I've met in real life who, more than one person, one comes to mind particularly, who lost everything to scammers and rug pulls in the last bear market of 2017 to 2018. I mean, this person lost everything and was suicidal, and it didn't plan on going on. They stumbled upon a Richard Hart video about mental health, about not trading, about improving yourself. And this was right around the time that Hex launched, and they put a small amount of money into Hex. They didn't have a lot. It was like they lost tens of thousands of dollars, everything that they had ever saved, to scammers. And then it's like they put a couple $100, $500, $1,000 into Hex over the years, and that turned into more than $1 million, and it was more life changing wealth than that person had ever experienced before. And this is income that they're going to have now for years and years and years, because they I believe they laddered out. And so just so incredible that, Richard he's only created one crypto, and now there are two more coming out, and then there's going to be another one after that. So even if you weren't early in Pulse, or you weren't early in Pulse X, there's still so much opportunity, because there are still millions and millions of people who will be getting free coins with Pulse Chain. And as we are seeing, there are things in crypto that get a pass because they're popular and because the price keeps going up. The price of Luna went from $1 all the way up to over $100. It was maxed out at like $111, and that was just couple weeks ago. Apparently, I hadn't been tracking it until the crash, but now it's below a penny, and that's because, well, we'll read about why it is, but the main point here is that they were not holding enough assets, and they were holding the wrong assets to be able to hold stability in their system. And it was an example of bad tech, and other things like arrogance, greed, bragging about how, they would never fail. The creator got warned ahead of time that this type of attack could happen from Wall Street, and didn't take it seriously, like all these things. So Twitter has a lot of evidence to review on the matter, but the point is that a lot of people, I think, they put money into this because they were enthusiastic about crypto and because they saw that this was hot, and so it was a play that was somewhat motivated by greed. And that's one of the emotions that you can master it by just listening to the right people, places, and things, by remembering that in crypto, it matters, like, whether you have utility and product market fit, right? And so even though dog coins can go up tens of thousands of percent or millions of percent, right? That doesn't mean that they all will, and it's probably 99.9% of them are scams. I don't even pay attention to all the names of them anymore, and I barely listen or pay attention, right? And so it's remember, the game theory of crypto is that it's extremely profitable to scam people and to make promises that are not delivered upon. And so that's why it's so important to verify whenever you're doing your own research. And you know, you're going to find that broadcasters on average, like, they're out to sell you something, and maybe they're caught up in a gambling game with their audience. They're buying things and dumping on their audience, and just simply because and to them, they're just learning. Like, they're learning about all the different cryptos. They buy it so they can report to their audience how to buy it. And so I think it's a very, very slippery slope being a broadcaster. And so this idea of keeping yourself honest, and but also, there's, to some extent, you have to educate yourself to the point where you can verify something, right? Or where you can learn enough about something. For example, for me, I didn't put more than probably $50 per hour into crypto, and the hour is how many hours I'm spending researching the stuff, right? And I would intentionally research something both ways. I would think about, like, what are the people saying who are for it? What are the people saying who are against it? And then you can evaluate better if you're not in an echo chamber, right? And you're not just simply consuming marketing. When I used to read all of the crypto news, like, now I realize that was all paid. It was paid advertising, and it's so that's not a good way to educate yourself. So, like, it's difficult to educate yourself in an environment in the whole crypto space where so many people are incentivized one way or another to try to market something to you that isn't going to be good for you, right? So thank you, Brissology. Shout out to you. I've heard you've been streaming more. Tin Top, good to see you. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad that you want to buy Luna. Jimrat Crypto, what's going on? Good to see you here. Thanks to you for helping people get more fit. Here's a list of all the links I have: MattyAllin.medium.com, YouTube.com/MattyAllin, t.me/CryptoSavesLife, and CryptoSavesLife.com. What's up, Dolomite? My pleasure. The Larry Tadlock Show. This is a fantastic idea. I lost my sister to suicide 6 years ago. I am very sorry for your loss, and would encourage everybody out there to share out this information. Because it's even if the person you're sending it to, even if they're not suicidal, maybe they know somebody that they could send it to, right? And it doesn't take many hops between people to find somebody who could really benefit from the education, the community, the support, the free crypto that I'm giving away for people who are willing to follow up on their getting help for suicidal ideation by contacting their local treatment and following the instructions that I wrote. All of the things that people need, that's probably a good start. Let's see. Oh, and shout out to David Feeder. I really loved our interview on Tuesday with the founder of Maximus, and I just love streaming with David in general. I have also, oh gosh, since David's watching, all right, this is gonna be a big reveal. This is, I've been working on everything. I'm super excited to be lucky enough to stream with the people I'm streaming with, and to to just be in this space. And so I made a little transition. Like, there's gonna be lots more of this stuff. Like once I get the pieces put together, then it's really easy to like accelerate. But here's our 3-second little transition whenever we do something on Game Theory Gang. Cool. Anyway, yeah, it's fun. Let me see. David's in the chat. Shout out to you. INT Pro. For any of those respondents who are on mobile devices trying to use MetaMask, do we know if the app is going to support switching over to the Pulse network? Couldn't switch to test when I tried once. It might not be with a single click, but I know that MetaMask Mobile, it's, got its problems, but I'm virtually certain it should work. We see on go.hex.com, it doesn't show up in the best way possible on mobile, but it works. And if you don't like it, you can use the front end I made that's super friendly for mobile. And by I mean future us and I made it. The dev, so tshare.app or go.tshare.app is a really good way to access that. Thanks, Maddie. Many people need this therapy stream. Well, I'm glad if it helps one person. I'm thrilled. Jackie, what a creative, caring, realistic plan. Thank you so much for doing this. Love this community. My pleasure. Would love to see an interview with Fiat at PH. Yeah, me too. I've been meaning to message them. T-Fex, I feel secure being in Richard Hart products. Thank you, Maddie, always thinking of others. Doing my best. How's it going? Anyone holding those altcoins I've never heard of? I don't know. Good day, Hexicans. Nice to see Hex Therapy. Let's go. Big like from India. Thank you so much. Davis, made it, Maddie. Thomas is saying, so this is where all the Hexicans are hiding. Good vibes, right on. What is up? Sandy B, how's it going? Diehard Hexican. Hexicans rely on you and others in the community with integrity. I'm honored to be a trusted member of the community and for people to feel comfortable coming on Hex Therapy when big things happen. And today is one of those days when I did extra preparation to hopefully help others in and out of our community. Yeah, great episode. Great job from the UK. Awesome. Abundance Man says Dibs gave us Hexicans the opportunity to onboard newbies, and our reward is watching them get rich also. I definitely agree. Yeah, awesome. Testnet is available for mobile. Sticker guy can confirm it. Kincaid Honey, what's going on? Excited for Pulse Chain and Pulse X. It's right around the corner. Hex Monkey says Hex users unaffected, stakes, and chilling. Getting rich also includes the dignity of sovereignty of controlling one's own wealth. I agree. Leanne says, focus on the small wins. Make your bed, drink 8 glasses of water in a day, take a shower. Emotions are a currency. Don't trade the good for bad or undervalue the ones like hope and inspiration. Those are very wise words. Thank you for sharing. And Hex Monkey says, I wish there were more costly consequences for the Furus. I mean, I think they get wrecked morally and in their bank accounts. And I think that, we're in a long-term game here. And I see some people in the Hex community like playing a long-term game and some playing a short-term game. But whoever you are, hit the like and subscribe button here. Smooth transition, I know. Let's talk more about what actually went down here. According to this sketchy Reddit explanation, but this story's been developing, and I'm not sure that we've verified all these facts, but I'm starting to see in multiple different accounts a similar storyline emerge. So I'll go ahead and read this for the people at home who are just listening. It says, this was posted a day or two ago. BlackRock and Citadel. Now remember, Citadel was that company that was trying to get squeezed by Wall Street bets, and they were doing the AMC and these other meme stocks, GameStop and AMC, and they had found out that Citadel and these other companies had gone irresponsibly short on these stocks that maybe still had a use case, and so a bunch of people bought it up, and then Robinhood, they took away the buy button and basically stopped Wall Street bets from making their big move against Wall Street. And so this proved that the markets are rigged. And I think that brought a lot of people into crypto at the end of the day. Now, they didn't get to the right places because crypto is super corrupt as well, as we can see by coin market cap gatekeeping and all these centralized exchanges gatekeeping Hex, which has done nothing but provide a really good store of value for people who are more long-term thinking. But so that's the Citadel that we're talking about when we're talking about, and then BlackRock is the biggest hedge fund here in the world. You're good. And they own everything. BlackRock is, major institution. They have over $1 trillion under their assets, and they're part of the reason I hear that the housing market has gotten bought up into this giant bubble where people can't afford to buy homes because these mega corporations decided to buy up all the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes all across the United States, not so they could live in them, but so that they could keep playing their financial games and extracting their insane 15% returns each year when there's not that much growth in GDP. It's really disgusting how some of these corporations will do whatever it takes, to screw over Main Street and pump their own bags on Wall Street. So BlackRock and Citadel borrowed 100,000 Bitcoin from Gemini, a centralized exchange, and it appears in their loan book. They swapped 25,000 of that BTC into UST, and UST is the Terra Luna stablecoin that was tied to this whole mess. This was all done quietly in anticipation of the attack. When the time was right, they called up the creator of, and the person who is basically the founder and the person who controls, the reserves for this stablecoin that was supposedly backed by BTC. So this character Do Kwon, right, at the Terra Foundation. So they called him up and they said they wanted to sell a big amount of Bitcoin for UST. And it was a large trade. They were telling him, and they didn't want to move the market, and asked if he would like to buy their large block of BTC at a discount for UST. Do Kwon took the bait. He gave them a huge chunk of UST, thus lowering the UST liquidity significantly. At that point, BlackRock and Citadel dumped all of their BTC and UST, causing massive slippage and triggering a cascade of forced selling in both assets. The real problem was BlackRock or Citadel knew that Anchor, which is a protocol that holds a lot of Luna, was a Ponzi scheme. They offer 20% staking APY, for Christ's sake. And that much APY doesn't make sense if you're just duct taping a token onto a Ponzi scheme. In Hex, you have 3.69% inflation that is a form of virtual lending, where basically if I want to hold liquid Hex, I have to pay a 3.69% inflation cost. And together, the staker class is getting up to 36% APY that's paid for because only 10% of the coins are staked. And so the people who are paying the inflation to the stakers, they're benefiting from being able to sell the price and to see the price appreciate because there's people holding up the price, right? So that's how Hex is able to provide. Actually, it's only about a 10% APY if you lock for 1 year, but if you're willing to hold the price up for multiple years, then you get a better rate. If you're locking for 6.3 years, then you're getting a rate of 36%. And that's where the average stake length sits. So there is a big difference between, whether you're a Ponzi scheme that is offering 20% staking without having anybody pay for it, without it being a sustainable thing, versus what Hex is, which is extremely sustainable and is in a whole different league of game theory. So anyway, BlackRock and Citadel, they knew that there was this situation with Anchor, right? So, instead of warning people, instead of telling people that it was a Ponzi, they didn't do that. They didn't do the right thing. They didn't notify the officials to shut it down. They decided that this was going to be one of their big paydays, right? And so they likely knew about this going into it, because they have to do an insane amount of research before they're able to move around, these billions of dollars. And so, so they it's extremely reasonable to think that they knew what they were doing, that this was that they were taking advantage of an illegal scheme within crypto, where people were being lied to, and they were complicit in the lies to some extent. So they knew that this crash would trigger more withdrawals than Anchor could repay. These forced withdrawals and selling would trigger a massive sell-off in Luna, thus further breaking the $1 peg and wrecking the market further. BlackRock and Citadel were now able to buy the Bitcoin back cheaply to repay the loan and pocket the difference. Meanwhile, billions of dollars worth of long bets and Bitcoin were wiped out. And so this was pure market manipulation. And that's part of the reason why it's such an extremely egregious moment in history in the crypto market, and something we'll look back on probably for a long time to come. Is these are the same corrupt games and the same rigging that we saw with Wall Street Bets, with Robinhood. Citadel is the company that backed Robinhood and changed the rules on people to benefit themselves, right? And so they knew that they could be irresponsibly short on a stock and ruin these companies that people loved or came to love, and so it's just more and more material proof that markets are rigged. This is more of a reason for people to get into crypto, and not Bitcoin, and not these stable coins that aren't backed by enough reserves, right? But people benefit from getting into things that make sense from a technical level, and that's about it. I mean, product market fit, and not a scam. Like those are harder to come by than you would think. Again, because of the misincentives of the market rewarding people who scam. Scams are so profitable when you're making your own money out of thin air that people don't even realize when something real comes along like Hex, because they've been fed so much marketing that they can't distinguish between what's marketing and what are facts, what are things that would make their decision informed with the truth, and to not have these large institutions. Like, if you were holding Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything that went down, it's not that many like indirect steps to say that these corporations, they were stealing from you too, because they were manipulating the entire market. Now they get to go in and buy everything as cheap as they want. They can continue to play their games of manipulation that are illegal, right? So this is the story we're seeing from lots of different places. So very similar reporting, and so um, a lot of this stuff should be on the blockchain. It is in Hex. A lot of I guess we don't know if certain trades are over the counter, but you know, um, the majority of the volume in Hex is on chain. The vast majority, 95 or more percent. Whereas the majority of trading in almost every other crypto that I know of, it's happening behind the private walls of centralized exchanges. And that's not what crypto was created for. Crypto is not created to give governments and corrupt institutions and corporations an even better trading edge to wreck Main Street, right? So let's get back to the chat and see. But this will be referred to henceforth as the Terra Luna attack. I accidentally fat fingered a ad there. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I could link to this tweet in the live chat in case people want to research it further. So Binance has gotten effed up because of Luna. I believe it. MetaMask works fine on the iPhone. Good to hear. Which one of you dumped the Luna on me? Good question. Testnet works fine on iPhone. Another good hair day. Hey, thank you so much. Hex Monkey. What if Maddie's reading is true? That's very disturbing. All the more reason to be in Hex with immutability and zero counterparty risk. Totally. This is an interesting scenario. Though very happy, I never had anything to do with either Luna or UST. My heart goes out to those who are learning such expensive lessons as Luna. The squeeze has not been squeezed, says Sticker Guy. That's right. Hex Monkey hit the nail on the head. Citadel needs money to pay the shorts of GME and AMC. Looks like the game is still on. Well, I think they made out just fine on that. I know that they got to do all kinds of things that were corrupt in that situation. I have a great episode. I think I have a couple of episodes from back in those days. You can go through my old thumbnails and you'll easily be able to find the one where I did a full report on that at the time. So the information was fresh. Yeah. Hexagons and new projects on Pulse Chain should take notes. Big players don't want us to succeed. We have no friends outside of Hexaco. Good point. I stubbed my crypto. Awesome info. That's right. I don't know. I can't always see if a mod deletes a comment. So they're banned words, and some of them don't really make a lot of sense, and some of them I should probably go back through and unban. So that could do it. Another thing that could do it is if you try share a link. I think that I don't want people showing links, and so if you do something if you do a comment that's not allowed, it'll disappear. Usually when I comment on something, I usually try to copy it and just keep it on my keep it in my phone's memory just in case something goes wrong with it. But I'm kind of OCD and eccentric about that, so I don't like losing things I've written. Okay, cool. So let's see. Okay, so we covered all that. Let's see. So just more on the emotional side of things, more on the big picture, right? Because um, what I have found is that there are sometimes when I've been in crypto and the crypto market has dipped significantly, and it weighed very heavy on my heart and on my mental health. It took a lot of self care. And then I've been fortunate enough, because I stayed out of trading, because I followed Richard Hart, because I didn't, you know, let gambling and addiction and other bad habits into my people, places, and things. Um, I know that, you know, I've gotten to a point now where dips don't really upset me, but they also, they don't really get me excited either. I am not trading, so I'm not necessarily even buying dips if I don't have new income from airdrops, and there's been a lot of that certainly. So, but when we really get back to this philosophy of like what's a mentally healthy way to go about crypto, one way is to dollar cost average in to things, to dollar cost average out of things, and uh, to set up your staking ladder in Hex. Once Pulse Chain comes out in a couple weeks, it will be super cheap and easy for people to do a lot more things with staking ladders. You know, for the for the program that we're doing for people who are using crypto to pay themselves to improve their mental health and to avoid suicide. Another idea that I had that I can't commit to yet, but that would be possible, is if people have followed all the instructions for the first task that we went over earlier in this episode, they might qualify them to be gifted a small amount of hex, which then they could possibly be able to run a script or do do some sort of automated staking thing, where these people who have previously been suicidal would then have hex coming out every week for basically the rest of their lives, for the next 15 years plus, and they would have the incentive and the instructions to set up a perpetual stake. And even if that stake isn't super valuable right away, um, we've already seen how explosive these crypto markets can go. To the upside, we know that Hex has followed Bitcoin and Ethereum's rise to the point where it's about equal or higher to where Bitcoin and Ethereum were 2.5 years into their journey. And we can see that Hex, if it were to only be as good as Bitcoin, uh, it would continue to appreciate another 1000x from here. Incredible. And can you imagine the fact that there are going to be millions of people coming in from Pulse Chain, and they're going to realize that they've been lied to and gatekept, and they're going to do some revenge buying of Hex, and they're going to dump all of their other cryptos that are manipulated and centralized. They're going to sell those, at bottom dollar or whatever they can get for them. In all likelihood, if things go to plan with this genius maneuver of giving everybody a free copy of their coins on on another network, and they don't have to do anything except change one of their settings. It's going to be a game changer. We are coming up on this historic moment in crypto. It's incredibly exciting, and there's so much hope. So that's another reason why I wanted to share that vision, is whether the individuals who are signing up for the suicide prevention program, or anybody out there who's listening, can just have this attitude that, yeah, if you earn an extra $20 and put it into crypto, you don't have to put your life savings in. And for you to be for you to have the emotional comfort to the point where myself and several other people probably are in the space, like, um, it's going to it will behoove you to not be impulsive and not take undue risks. To I never, well, I was going to say I never put my life savings into crypto, but um, I didn't put it in all at once, and I could have lost it all if I didn't prepare myself and didn't build my skills along the way. If somebody, you know, somebody out there who is even unemployed, if they went out and got a job, if they looked for a job where they could listen to YouTube. I mean, not everybody has that luxury, but and for a lot of my jobs, I could never do that. But imagine if because there are jobs out there that you can safely and effectively listen. If you're working at a gym, sometimes people can, depending on the boss, a number of other jobs, especially manual labor, where people can earn money while getting an education by listening to YouTube while they're doing their work. And so if somebody is putting in some extra hours and even getting a couple $100 to put into the new Richard Hart things, um, I don't think it takes a lot. I really do. In the big picture, if Hex still has another 1,000x to go, or way more, and then uh, then these other two chains are going to have millions of users all at once. That's, I think, incredibly bullish. So I remember the last bottom of the bear market. I don't know if here is the bottom, but I can tell you that if you watched this show 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, like when ETH was at $3,000, I told people, like, I'm selling my dust, and that's because I don't like holding ETH, because I think that the reason it's so expensive is because of these gas fees that are part of the problem. And so um, even though ETH 2.0 and Pulse Chain coming out, like, it might not solve the high fee problem, it might. And especially Pulse Chain coming out could significantly decrease demand on the Ethereum network. So I, I I'm not buying ETH at 2,000. I'll, I remember how it felt to buy ETH at 600 when we had gone from $90 when I bought a little bit ETH down at 120 or 100 3 summers ago now. And yeah, it was 3 summers ago now, I think, right before Hex came out. And so I haven't felt the same way about ETH since it passed $600. That's where, for me, and I mean, back then I wanted it because you could do cool stuff on there. Now I don't have the same affinity for it, but that's I don't know. I think $2 is still, or $2,000 per ETH. I think it's still pretty expensive. I think it could go up. I mean, anything can go up. It could go up to $6,000. I don't think it will right now, but who knows? I was happy selling what I had at like 3,000, and if I need gas for ending my hex stakes or doing these other things, I'll just hold my USDC and I'll buy I'll buy the ETH, at the time when I need to, and I can buy it from Coinbase instead of doing a swap fee that's $300 right now, and just send it to myself and do it that way. So let's see. Yeah, so I think people who are the most scared right now probably are holding too much liquid hex, or are over invested in crypto in general, which is a very risky strategy that can cause you to do the wrong things. Or it can work out for people sometimes, but it's much more risky. And I've dabbled ever so slightly, a couple $100 here and there, in trading in the past month just to understand the emotions behind it. And I am blown away by how emotionally unhealthy it is. And that is a hidden cost. One of the many hidden costs of trading is, you're less likely to be present for the people around you, and that causes less cool people, places, and things to appear in your environment when you when you're not respecting being there in the moment, when you're in another place, you know basically playing a negative sum game where you're making an exchange or a miner rich, or somebody who rug pulls in a marketing team. You're making all these people rich except for yourself and the guy on the other side of the trade, on the other side of the screen, that's trying to do the same thing, which is, it's acting on greed, taking on too much risk. Uh, so those are my thoughts. Is that, stake and chill. That's really good advice. And setting up a staking ladder, even if it's just 4 steps. First step, liquid, 5, 10, 15-year stakes. That's how I would set up my first stakes at this point, and then build from there, especially when there's lower fees. But awesome info, thank you. Computer glitch, okay. So one person is commenting about the Citadel, BlackRock market manipulation, saying it had to happen. Unfortunately, Legacy had the size to do it, but these lessons need to be learned the hard way. Staking at centralized exchanges has always been a bad idea. This is a good lesson learned for other stablecoins launching on Pulse. Yeah. And David and I talked a lot a week or two ago, or was it on Hex? There's been a discussion in the past couple of weeks, where I tried to do my research and did a poll into what was the best stablecoin to hold. Luna, or sorry, UST, and even Tether, they were not on my list. I was trying to ask between DAI and USDC. I feel like patting myself on the back and giving a shout out to everybody who's been contributing to the knowledge we've been sharing on this channel. You could go back to when Richard Hart called the top. In the weeks leading up to that, Kareem and Wales Only and I were all calling it right along with Richard, because there were a lot of really clear signs that it was the top. Richard called it on the day. I think we called it on the week. Still very impressive. And then, even without those amazing guys, being on the show and filling my brain with all the chart analysis and macroeconomics, I could even tell that there's a top for Ethereum a couple weeks ago. So a local top. So it's yeah. What did I see in the last 24 hours when it comes to stable coins? I was really scared, and just by scared, I mean scared for other people, about USDT, because it lost its peg down to about 97 cents for a while this morning. Can you believe that? And I was looking back, and of course, charts don't always give the most refined data, because if there's a wick, it's hard to tell if it was real or not. But anyway, my very, very limited research, it seemed like USDT in the past couple of years hadn't gone below 96 cents. And so it was flirting with those previous numbers. And there's been so much FUD around Tether, which is probably partially true and partially not true, based on me following that story for years and years and remembering the exact, there was an academic report that came out. It was over 100 pages that first alleged, along with Bitfinex, that Tether was not backed. But then it's super political, and and a kind of shadowy banking sector. USDT is like definitely worth having an episode about, and bringing on other people who are also have been paying attention for years on that one. But anyway, the bottom line is it's one that I don't hold, that I wouldn't want to hold. And if somebody donates USDT to me, I switch it for USDC. But anyway, yeah, USDT was looking bad. I think it got back to its $1 peg this afternoon or evening. And yeah, I mean, Luna's still wrecked. I think there was another one that was a little bit at a discount. And then USDC was actually trading at a slight premium, although I'm not exactly sure how anybody would even arbitrage that. I just like the fact that when I'm cashing out of anything, all these airdrops and stuff, or the small amount of hex interest I used to have to sell before all these airdrops. Coinbase doesn't take a fee to swap. If you send them USDC, they treat it as exactly $1, and there's no fee to swap it out to your bank. So that's really cool, because if you send them ETH, then they do charge a big fee and a spread. So it's like a hidden fee as well. So yeah, I don't really mind if Coinbase, I'm not really cashing out right now, but because I've already been super responsible. Like I've got a big enough cushion, and I've paid attention enough to see stuff coming that it's like, yeah, I've been waiting for this bottom. I can't wait until we have more tops, in a year from now, when we've hit the bottom in the rest of the crypto market, when Hex and Pulse Chain and PulseX have differentiated themselves, and start to create new cycles or replay the old cycles that are based on Bitcoin. It's happening. That's another indicator, is like we're in between two happenings. So we're 2 years in, and there's another 2 years left, and that's typically when the bear market sets in. So Hexico, what a great name for RH's new country. Being a staker is our application for citizenship. Whales attack happen, it would seem, if those reports are true. Yeah. To see how BlackRock has such a widespread interest and leverage in media outlets and regulators/politicians, I can't help but be curious to see how this is spun to further push certain regulations. Oh, I agree. There are tons more ways that these corrupt institutions could profit off of this big issue. When we go back to the housing crisis of 2008, we see that Wall Street and these mega corporations, they created these mortgage-backed securities that were trash, that they knew were trash. They bribed the rating agencies to say that they weren't trash. They unloaded them all around the world. And as they were doing that, they pushed up the price of the housing market, because they were giving more loans to people, and that was pushing up the housing market. So they were increasing their fees, but they were also increasing really their own assets, because they were cashing out all along the way. They had shell corporations that held the debt, and then they were selling and swapping in between themselves and cashing out all the way up. And then they said everything's too big to fail, so they left all this bad debt behind. They had issued debt to people who they knew couldn't pay it back, and then they got the government to bail them out. So taxpayers and the regular Main Street people had to pay 2 or 3 times over, because our housing prices went up. We had to pay for the bailouts, and we had to pay for them to cash out all along the way. It's super corrupt. So yes, I would agree. Based on game theory, we could expect, until the regulators get regulated, or until the market decides to not retaliate, but what are we doing in Hex? We're building our own system that is not having the same like corruptions, the same problems with it. It's a better system. It's not perfect, but it's better. Yeah, so they could use this as political cover to try to regulate the crypto industry even further, um, and use the outrage of people losing their money um, to Wall Street and use that as justification to take away even more power away from the places where crypto touches the legacy finance system, which is still important at this time. Until you can buy things in using crypto peer to peer, then you don't have to rely so much on having a good relationship with legacy banking. But now you do need to have a good relationship with legacy banking. And that's part of this growing process and this price discovery process and this process of onboarding more people into crypto. Everybody who gets onboarded into crypto, who has a bad experience, who gets scammed, who realizes how inefficient it is to do a $50 swap, to even get into something, um, you know, it's it's expensive to be an early adopter and it's risky, and there are some benefits to that, but some people just get turned off and will miss out on all their opportunity and will not be liking crypto for a long time. Sad to see the phone numbers all over the world for those in despair. I'm glad that there are crisis lines for people in hopefully all the different countries that we're streaming to right now. Yeah, but it's there's issues that people deal with, and it is what it is. Rothko, good to see you. RH is making history. Very true. Regulations are coming anyway. Over time, CBDCs will need to villainize alt digital assets, BTC included. I could see it going either way. I don't think that, like the way that most people talk about regulations, it seems like it's either all or none. They're thinking it's going to be severe or that like you can't touch this. But I think the real answer lies somewhere in between. And it also depends on adoption. And adoption depends on what is actually working in crypto. Cardano has been, spinning its wheels for 7 years. Ethereum has been spinning its wheels for 8 years or 9. Like Bitcoin hasn't improved in many years. There's been total stagnation because of bad incentives, where in 2017 you could make promises and put all your money into marketing and having a cool website, and then you could run away with hundreds of millions of dollars whether you were planning on it or not. And the bubble developed, and then people sold, and Ethereum went from $1,400 to $90. So it did like what, a 95% correction, 90% correction, right? So that's bad for anybody who is not dollar cost averaging. I mean, I think if I was a regulator, I would probably go after straight out scams. But then they'd have to like not go after the ones that are actually backed by corporations that control the government. So it's a little bit hard to tell, but there's probably some independent scams out there somewhere, right? And all the games that are being played there. But it's just because it's inferior technology, because it's so profitable to tell a cool story that like most people are not incentivized to build the thing that they're talking about, to fulfill to make the discoveries needed to deliver what they've promised. And people with the best intentions can really fall short because everybody around them also has the wrong incentives. These devs who are charging $50,000 a month to make something on the blockchain, like they have all the power right now. It's hard to get up to speed on some of these things, and especially to do things in a way that's so secure and reliable. The devs with the best reputations and who are out there capitalizing on everything, if you give them $50,000 to make something in a month, and what's stopping them from taking 3 months and tripling the amount that they're getting, right? And there's so much value being transferred around the crypto space. There's plenty of money for them to get wildly overpaid and have sudden wealth syndrome and have trouble getting motivated to work and getting distracted by their sudden wealth, um, and or trying to rush to get things done, and the entire space is just it's evolving so much. I think that the regulators are going to hit people who aren't paying taxes at all and cashing out millions and millions of dollars. You could see them going after the big fish there. Probably continuing to do some sort of psyops to make the average person not want to get in. That's probably in the best interest of the government. But I don't necessarily see them coming after people who are in a community that's satisfied and thriving. Um, that would be very bizarre and unpopular, and would bring a lot of attention to our community if we were targeted. So I see that as not super likely. The government agencies, they've already waffled back and forth on XRP, on Ethereum itself. They went back and forth as to whether that was a security or not. Seems like a security, but it's just they gave it a pass. So there's already tons of examples. What Richard Hart says, how many people are really in jail from all this stuff. So not as many as you'd imagine. So with so many rampant scams, with leveraged trading that's getting people wrecked more than anything, people who are just trading off the grid or not cashing out millions or anything, just keeping their wealth in crypto, and I don't see those people getting messed with really next. So and at the end of the day, the next group of billionaires in crypto will pay off regulators and everybody, and that they'll get their chance to write their own rules, and hopefully those rules will set the incentives in a more fair system that doesn't destroy the environment, that gives people a chance to store value over time and create better goods and services, to use capital efficiently, to do all the things that we hope money can do, maybe even pay your future self, right, to live a healthier life. RH products are truly mentally uplifting in an increasingly negative world. Absolutely. Hex just broke 13 cents according to Meltdown. People are scared now. It happened to Luna, which is a blue chip crypto. It can certainly happen to any cryptocurrency. Here's something I haven't said. Buckle up, everybody, because as soon as Richard Hart announces that the snapshot is coming out, if he doesn't do it as a surprise, it already happened situation, but if he says you have a couple days to get your affairs in order, all the liquidity in the current Hex trading pairs in the decentralized exchanges, the automated market makers, the Uniswaps, the V3, well, I guess V3 is unaffected, so that liquidity could stay there. But what I was going to say is that we could see much greater volatility in the Hex liquidity if really, I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but just reasoning through this and using problem solving, I would say that it's probably the V2, the two-sided liquidity, where you put up both pairs, you put up Hex and you put up USDC. That's probably what's driving the volatility. And the V3 stuff, as long as it's not hitting those pseudo limit orders on V3, right? Because with V3, you could do targeted one-sided liquidity. And so it's really kind of like setting, you can set buy walls and sell walls. You can say if the price spikes up and there's enough volume, you can say, where you're going to take your entry or exit point. That's something I want to demo more on this channel. It's on my list of things to do, is to show people exactly how I set limit orders on matcha.xyz and that sort of thing. There's Crypto Coffee talks about metric.exchange as having some cool features. And so, but it's that V2 liquidity that isn't going to get copied over in its current ratios, and it's going to be diluted and given extra pulse coins, which, hey, that might work out great for some people, but there's been a lot of people predicting that the V2 liquidity will pull itself out when Richard announces that the snapshot is imminent. And so under those set of circumstances, I can't predict Richard's behavior. He's gone back and forth on whether he would tell us, give us warning of the snapshot. And I think that it's advantageous that he doesn't tell us or keeps us guessing, because that discourages traders from coming in and doing short-term plays that distort the market and give people a worse deal. But if he says you have time to pull your liquidity and people pull their V2, sure, that V3 is still going to be there to absorb some shocks, but V3 can be pulled at any time. Remember, it's depending on your current market thesis, whether you would want to keep your limit orders where you have them publicly visible or not. And so basically all of this to say there could be a much greater than usual amount of volatility in the price of Hex. You might see the price of Hex right before the snapshot. You could see it swinging around with lower volume. You could see it swing down to 5 cents and up to 40 cents or something, if there's enough liquidity pulled, and if people are not having limit order set, not having buy wall set, that sell walls, that sort of thing. So it's really a whale's game when you get down to the liquidity in Hex. And it's part of the brilliant design of how it has such good fundamentals is you're getting paid so much to stake, you're less incentivized to yield farm, which creates these giant liquidity pools, which then make the price hard to discover in an upward trend, right? Like if there's too much liquidity sitting there trying to gain fees, those market makers in some cases are trying to artificially or manipulate the market to keep it in a certain range where they can get the most fees and can control everything. So the fact that the OA has some influence over the system, or the whales in Hex are not the Poseidon of them all. I mean, it does make a difference to the whale psychology and maybe to some extent to the sharks. But yeah, I think that what I'm trying to prepare you for is like, I wouldn't worry as much if the price of Hex is swinging around right now, because the big event is going to be when millions of people come into the ecosystem. So I mean, if Hex dipped down to 5 cents, yeah, like maybe I'd buy a little bit, but really I'm just chilling. Like I've got my money to live off of, and I've got my long-term savings, and like that's my plan. I don't have to change anything, and that makes it really emotionally comfortable to be in a position. And not everybody's there yet. And when my bag was not enough to retire off of, not enough to live off of, when my entire life savings went down by like 60 or 70% in the Bitcoin in the first bear market I was in back in 2018, yeah, it was really a test, and it didn't feel good. and it did mess with my mood on some days. And it would have been better to not check the price and to just dollar cost average, to set it automatically, or to just do it manually, and expect the price to swing around or to go down, and to have a good attitude about that, and to be setting myself up as a long-term believer, and to accept the fact that I could be wrong in my investment thesis, and that nothing is guaranteed in free markets, especially. So, um, all this to say, if there is a roller coaster ride coming in Hex, uh, I would encourage people to look the other way, um, or have a plan ahead of time for what happens if that occurs. Are you going to watch less streams? Are you going to listen to people who are taking a more positive approach? There were times during Bitcoin and Ethereum and Hex dips when listening to the influencers who were keeping the faith and staying positive, that was a huge help for me to dollar cost average in at those prices. Let me tell you, it is no fun watching your life savings go down 70% and then trying to buy more at that point. It doesn't feel good, but it's the smartest thing you can do if you're in something that has a future with a good product market fit, with a community that is so enthusiastic about marketing, about doing volunteering, doing things for free. But thinking about the millions of users that are about to get exposure to Richard Hart and his genius way to give people a way to access their crypto on a different network without having to use a bridge, without having to pay anything or sign up. So I think we're going to have a lot of happy customers who are just going to swarm Hex and pump it sky high. So, if it dips, if it has some wild downswings, that will allow it to go even higher, because it'll shake out the weak hands. So unless you're planning on being a weak hand, don't be a weak hand. Be a smart hand. Use the smart contract how it was designed to do staking. And RIP to low fees, but each person is going to have their own. It's really, I think we could do a better job, or I could do a better job as a broadcaster of breaking down, like, if my bag was $100, here's how I'd play. If my bag was $1,000, here's how I'd play, all the way up. Because there are way different decisions I would make. When I was talking to Sticker Guy the other day, and I was trying to test and improve his knowledge about different ways to buy low and that sort of thing, and do limit orders. I was thinking through, all right, if somebody is buying in with $100 or $200 at a time, how much are they wanting to keep in ETH versus, being able to keep it on a stable, on a centralized exchange that you trust, and, just a little, that little amount, and then trying to, put it back into MetaMask and be able to do hex trades. And that's, so there's definitely different strategies, and calculating what is the gas basically is what it comes down to. When we remove that from the equation, when Pulse Chain does not cost hardly anything to do transactions, that's going to be really amazing. It's going to open up the potential of Hex to have low cost, trustless yield. Right now people can't stake $5 for 95 days and be profitable, even if the price of Hex goes up, because of the gas fees. But once people are paying a penny to stake, and they're getting paid, multiple Hex over the course of their stake, even if it's, not that expensive of a stake. It's going to be a game changer. It's going to open up access for so many people and show them the value day by day. I mean, it can't be understated how big of a deal that's going to be. I mean, maybe Hex will just keep doing what it's been doing because it'll onboard, people with less wealth, which it takes a lot more of than people with high wealth. But I think everybody follows if they can see the future of crypto and blockchain. What's going on, MoFit Meals? Just realized that Hex T-shares are my new stablecoin. Well, I argued about that the other day, and I think people should have enough to live off of. It's not at risk of these huge dips. Why would you worry holding liquid Hex? I think when I said that, I was probably talking about if somebody was holding only liquid Hex, they were paying this high inflation rate, they weren't earning anything, earning any of the sweet trustless yield. And if the Hex, the price of a Hex can go down 25% in a day, or 30 or 40% in a week, or more, then that would be worrisome to people who have this as their primary wealth storage device. But no, I mean, like, holding just a percentage of liquid Hex is actually, in my strategy, recommended, because if the price moons, you want to be able to capture that, and because it's going to be volatile. It's not going to go up and stay at the exact same price forever. It'd be extremely unlikely. It's not designed to do that unless the design changes or plays out differently, which you never know what all those $250 million worth of stablecoins sitting in the sacrifice address wallet are going to do, but can't have any expectations. So for now, we can only worry about, having so much liquid Hex that it doesn't make the best long-term plan for yourself. Like why would you hold 100% liquid Hex if you're not going to want to cash that out and spend it? For me, my ideal situation, which seems to kind of be playing out, is like, if every year I'm living 1 to 2% of my life, which the rest of my life from here is probably going to be 50 to 100 years, somewhere in there. So if I have 100 more years to live, each year is 1% of that. If I have 50 years to live, then each year is 2% of that. So if I'm only spending 1 to 2% of my net worth, then I can stay retired. I can stay promoting Hex and educating people about mental health and cryptocurrency and trying to make the world a better place on a platform where I can reach more people than my old job. I could only talk to 10 or 20 people at a time at most. Oftentimes it was one-on-one. Now, when I'm able to give not therapy advice, but when I'm able to educate people and use my free speech to discuss these topics and to weave in more and more mental health as it's relevant, like today when we have reports of people committing suicide in other communities because of the market crashing. Yeah, I mean it's it's just it's really interesting to me how we can look at, so again, that's the ideal situation, is like living off of 1 to 2% of my life savings at a time. And if I can't live off of that, I can work harder to do something profitable, or I can pray for more airdrops and have that come true, or whatever. Or if Hex goes into a prolonged bear market of its own, then I need a plan for that. And it's so for me, I wouldn't hold liquid. I wouldn't hold the majority of my savings I'm not going to spend it soon, I want it to be further out on my staking ladder, because my staking ladder ideally would represent that idea. It's extremely hard to predict what the value of Hex is going to be, a year from now, even, let alone multiple years. But the way that I design my staking ladder is I put a certain amount. I spread out my first batch that I bought very early on over 15 years, and then I went back and I added more to the end, and then I just filled it in probably 3 times in total, and made sure it was much heavier on the back end. Yeah, so that's one way to play the game. Some people are going to have different life circumstances, different health conditions and stuff, and so they might want to access it more sooner. I mean, we also continue to see a super interesting story play out with the Maximus DAO stake that is tradable shares and is trading at a giant premium these days. I mean, it's like 50 or 100% premium. I'm not sure the exact highest amount it's gotten up to, but it was like 60% earlier this week. I think it did even better in the crash. So there's a lot to unpack there, and we'll continue to come back to that topic because I don't think we fully understand all the ramifications of that. And as evidence, I had expert David Feeder, myself, an expert, and the founder of Maximus DAO on, and we all admitted that how the premium has gone so far, none of us predicted that it would rise so quickly. And I heard Trevon say that he predicted it, and I wouldn't put it past Richard and some other people for predicting it, but I think it also could have gone either way, and it was just how kind of an unpredictable response by the community. People maybe warmed up to the idea when they got paid so much by Hedron to get an airdrop and have the functionality and quote unquote optionality of trading wrapped stakes. But yeah, so holding liquid maxi is a little bit different than holding liquid Hex. We still have to see how that plays out for people. I did get I got a really small amount of maxi just to see how it goes before the ETH fees went up. I think I paid like a $30 swap for it earlier this week. Just curious to see what they had a play in manufacturing. If what they had in manufacturing ends up leverage for the cause, it'd be a win-win for them. Not sure how many realize how deep BR's BlackRock's tendrils reach. Yeah, they're in everything. It's scary for sure. Apparently it's coming out what happened. It was BlackRock. That's what I was saying earlier. Hello, Linda. Good to see you. Is Luna really at 7 cents? I was looking into Luna more because I want to understand history and stuff, and I guess it's its own chain, and I played around. I wanted to buy like $200 worth, but the Transact thing failed, which sucks because Hex users sometimes want to use that, but it didn't work with Apple Pay. It didn't work with credit card. It completely failed. Wasn't a way to buy it there. I don't know that much about Binance Chain, but I don't have an account with Binance. I just have a MetaMask thing, and that didn't work either. It wasn't there. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if there's a wrapped version. And there was a wrapped version. And I bought it. I think I lost my $200, even though it had already crashed 99%. I guess it decided to crash another 90 or 99% from there. So RIP to my my education funds there. But on the wrapped, so it's relevant to our discussion, but how wrapped Hex is trading at a premium because the wrapped Luna on the Ethereum network, which trades on Coinbase, a centralized exchange where you aren't getting beat up with Ethereum miner fees, was trading at such an insane premium. It was trading at at 5 to 10x premium. Crazy. It was trading between like 30 and 60 cents whenever the actual Luna that you could buy on the actual chain, if you were already KYC'd or like registered with them, it's trading between like 3 and 6 and 10 and 15 cents. So I guess it was like a 2 to 10x somewhere in there. Premium. They win from every direction. Central banks and their buddies always win. They scared investors and made a killer trade. Oh, I'm way behind in chat. That's kind of cool. There's lots of people commenting. Thanks for commenting, everybody. I'll try to speed up. Time seems ripe for a revisit to Tether offices from the SEC. Let's see those asset statements. I don't think they want to show their books to the SEC, not because they don't have reserves, but because they already had a run, like they already lost out to a bank where a bank like jacked $100 million from them or something. And they, I think Richard was talking once about how they made up for that by like issuing another token and then like digging themselves out. But when the SEC actually did rule on that, their practice in New York, remember the SEC fine was only about $15 to $20 million. And I remember at the time I had researched how much they had made in fees in total in all the years that they had operated. And it was like $20 million. So the SEC really only jacked them for their profits, which seems like super fair. If they're operating in a way that isn't super legal because they're not showing their books because they don't want the government to be able to swipe all of their deposits or control them under threat of swiping their deposits, it makes sense for them to be independent and to not show where the money is. That it makes sense to me. There's a case for that. And but the paid crypto media like is super convincing that Tether isn't backed by anything. They're the reason Bitcoin pumped, blah, blah, blah. You know how many people know about Bitcoin? How many people have tried to buy in and how many institutions are buying? Like the demand for Bitcoin is real. So if there's a news article telling you that Tether is the reason that the Bitcoin market pumped and they have correlations to prove it, like, no, that's how people put their money into crypto. It's by buying Tether. Who don't want for, I think, especially outside the United States, they don't want the risk of the US taking it. So, that's like not whale games. That's like Poseidon games. That's central banker games and stuff, right? So like, now, I mean, it could be right that they don't have any reserves or that they've made billions of dollars out of thin air. But you would think that with all the billionaires giving them billions of dollars and getting Bitcoin, getting in and out of Bitcoin using USDT, you would think that some of those billionaires would have like private investigators and like moles and stuff like that, and they would find out if there weren't any reserves. I don't think that they would be using it. So now look, there were lots of people using Terra Luna who apparently didn't understand that it wasn't fully backed, but I think so that's why I'm not giving a definitive answer on either side. But I think that the crypto media has done such a good job of arguing unanimously that Tether is printed out of thin air. It's almost all too convenient that this has been the period when institutions wanted to buy in, and them creating these paper Bitcoin and the derivatives on the CME was the exact day of the Bitcoin top in the 20K cycle of 2017, like the day that everybody thought the price was going to pump because of um, this new kind of trading. It was like the market dumped forever down to a 85% correction. So that's institutional manipulation. Same with the tether FUD, I suspect. I think, you know, they report on tether FUD on days when people are already selling Bitcoin. They've already sold their Bitcoin, and other people are reacting to that. The people who are super short term, the people who are leveraged, and those, I mean, people who are taking leverage trades in crypto, like, just get wrecked over and over and over again, and make everybody else super wealthy. So the people who are playing those games and creating those traps and that sort of thing. So you know, given if you really dig down the rabbit hole and go beyond just the articles that have 50 ads jammed inside of them, so you can only read one sentence at a time, there's not a lot of original thinking there. It's very opinionated, presented as fact, has a cool thumbnail, um, pops up wherever you consume your financial media. But Randy Hilarski is a Hexakin who got fired from writing crypto articles because he wanted to write about Hex. And there aren't people writing articles about Hex, even though Hex has created thousands of millionaires. So obviously, the people who are writing the articles, they're just as clueless. Otherwise, they would have retired and stopped giving away all their secrets. Maybe. I mean, there are those of us in the Hex community who are the exception to the rule, but broadcasters usually have something to gain from drinking their own Kool-Aid or being wrapped up in their own games. I mean, you wonder why some of these guys are still, and it makes sense that they'd still be there for fame, but it's I don't know. I mean, all the mainstream Bitcoin and Ethereum and shitcoin influencers, like, they just continuously wreck their audience. So it doesn't matter if they are aware of it or not, or just clueless or whatever. I mean, they have bad information. So um, yeah, I think Tetherfud is like a psyop to allow institutions to buy in lower, and it probably works. I mean, I used to listen. I used to not realize that the crypto media was complete garbage. Now, it's also, I mean, yeah, I could go back and forth forever. I mean, the Tether stuff is yeah. Do they have an incentive to lie? Maybe, yeah. And, you know, but I don't know. I don't think I haven't seen that much that they're in on anything. I think it's just some OG Bitcoiners that didn't pair up with the SEC. They didn't make themselves available to get their doors kicked down, and their reputations are the price that they pay, kind of. Thankfully, us Hexicans are at the forefront of depegging humanity from their shenanigans. Well said. Jacob, I've been watching Richard Hart for something like 3 years. I finally started listening. Sacrificed for Pulse and Pulse X. Can't believe it took me so long, but happy to be here. We're glad for you to be here as well. Welcome to the party, as we like to say, even on such a tragic day. Hex 19, our very own whale of all Richard Hart things. From the start, UST was under collateralized because Luna was burnt to get UST to get about 20% APR. UST going asymptotically to zero. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. They, such as the governments and banks, do not want crypto to succeed. I still wonder why bother with stables if you actually want to protect fiat. Hex 19 says liquid loans, USDL is over collateralized and no PLS is going to be burned. So it's a different situation there. Interesting. Now we know what the worst case scenario looks like. Well, for a stable, and Richard's going to make a stable now, so that's really good news. He said he's got tricks up his sleeve, and I couldn't believe after like over a year, I saw some like FUD from bad texture, and he he's really good at creating FUD, but like I know not to listen to him. If you don't know who I'm talking about, don't get into it. But yeah, he thinks he's like Eric Wall. He's just like wrong about things to such an extent that it's like, well, he's wrong about the trades he takes. He's wrong giving advice to others. He sold his bag of hex at like below a penny, and could have been a shark probably. So, but gosh, is he good at fudding? I mean, back in the day when hex was like a penny or a third of a penny, he was saying like Richard was going to dump all the OA bags to pay for longevity research. You were completely wrong. At the time, it was definitely a scary thing to say, and but false. Uh, Richard raised $27 million for charity without doing anything but making Hexicans rich who wanted to donate to it. And the incentives of the OA are not to sell. It would sell its Ethereum and Bitcoin and stables first. And so, yeah, I mean, like the latest FUD from him is like, oh, Richard's going to create a Ponzi just like Tether, and it's going to be super successful, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, we just talked a lot about how Tether being not backed is a really cool story if you're somebody trying to manipulate the market. But like, let's go back to the game theory. Let's go back to like, what are the incentives of these different players? And like, not having a door to kick in like seems more aligned with crypto than anything else. And people need stables so that they can survive the market manipulation and dollar cost average in and out and store value in a way that balances their risk and meets their needs. And I mean, there's a use case for stables, and that's why Richard's going to make one. So I don't think we're like, even though we had like this huge collapse, I don't think we're at the worst case scenario. I mean, we could be at the bottom. I just think that we still have super high fees. Like that doesn't feel like the bottom to me. Now the fees were low earlier in the week, so this might be a temporary thing, but I don't know. I think there are more things that could fail just naturally because they've been inflated. Like Ethereum trading for $2,000, like that doesn't make anybody happy. Like who's having to actually use it, who's wanting to use DeFi. Like nobody's getting to play with crypto the way it could be best designed. But Pulse Chain in a couple weeks, that's gonna be a game changer. That's the best case scenario. US regulations may cause on and off problems for me, but not for people overseas. I don't think they will shut down Coinbase. It's too late now. They have the NYC BTC license for almost a decade. Crypto is allowed currently because Legacy can control it. Luna, Situation, and Point, they will need to block exits when CBDCs are rolled out. Global coordination. I mean, we already have central bank digital currencies. It's like they've already built an infrastructure for that. Like, and people, believing the cycles of market volatility, people playing into their hands. Like, I would say the people in charge of all the money in the world, like they're appreciating the fact that crypto exists in an uncertain regulatory environment. because they still think that they get to write all the rules going forward, and that they can buy out all the best tech, and that they can create FUD and crash things that they don't like and make money off trades like they're doing now. So like it's an ideal situation for them as is. You know, the U.S. military and government, they don't fight wars with only soldiers now. They fight wars with bankers controlling every $10,000 amount of money that's moved around the world in any country, and exporting their inflation and their, you know, um, devaluing of the currency. The, so they already have a central bank digital currency, and they're already getting better at tracking everybody using their own technology without putting it on a blockchain, without like having to, you know, crypto is hurting itself by allowing so many scams, and people get wrecked, and then they don't want crypto anymore, and they want to go back to their friendly dollar. So they're known evil. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to give you a different perspective than everybody else is saying about the regulation, about the CBDC. You can make up your own mind, and I hope you do your critical thinking. I just want to get out a different perspective there, and because it's the fear that really motivates people to give up control, or to do things that are risky that also give up control and freedom. And so it's by fear of thinking that, that a CBDC, that a central bank digital currency, is going to come and change things suddenly. Um, you know, it's likely that they're going to keep printing money, that they're going to keep paying people off and doing more stimulus plans and this and that, right? Um, Maybe it'll pay for itself with massive GDP from some technological breakthrough that they end up owning. And maybe the wealth gaps will keep getting farther and farther apart, and maybe there will be more populist governments. But at the end of the day, it's up to each of us, like, to decide how much fear we let into our lives. And the more fear that we have, the greater we can be manipulated on some days, probably. So fear not, the CBDC, because whoever really, like, whoever's doing a good job being productive in society, and whoever is ahead of the curve when it comes to like the real free market and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity and hope in that situation. And because we've swung so far where wealth gaps exist, and supply chains are getting stressed and breaking in some places, could break much worse. Like, maybe things will end up getting better over time. Like, it's very hard to ever know when you're at the bottom of a market, or a cycle in macroeconomics. And in some ways we can predict it really well, but how it feels when we're actually there is a different question. It's a different skill set to even be aware of. So, CBDCs might be awesome, because of all the FUD that we hear about them. Maybe, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to compete with the things that people in the free world build, and people who are new whales and that sort of thing. I think, whoever has the next leap forward in technology, those will be the people writing the rules more than the old people. And there will be infighting and stuff like we saw, where there's coordinated financial attacks. But that's where we're at, right? Like, that's where we are in history, is like, that's the checks and balances that have been going on for a long time. So, change, it's always going to happen, but it happens so gradually, and with so much distraction. You know, can you point at? It's probably going to be hard to distinguish an actual point. There's going to be the point where they say, "All right, there's this new currency, and it's the digital. It's some central bank world currency or something. It's, you know, a new crypto. They could call it a new cryptocurrency, but that's not the definition of a cryptocurrency as we know it. It's like it's got to be decentralized. So to have a central bank digital currency is just another form of fiat that's easier to track than the current super easy system that they've developed. So. USDC is the new CBDC for the US. The Fed will not make their own. Interesting. Yeah, that could be. UST Luna, maybe the Lehman Brothers for this time, took about 6 months to reach the bottom in March 2009. Interesting. It's already here, and right now it's pretty loose, and you can trade them in a Coinbase for $1, 24/7. Yeah, and that meets a lot of the criteria of a CBDC, doesn't it, David? They might start restricting and controlling USDC, but not likely, in my opinion. The bankers want to use USDC too. The Fed will have a digital ledger. The chain will be centralized. They'll do what they want. Hello, Hexicans. Hello, Maddie. I always get off work late, but here you are. Good to see you, Peppy. Fed already said they won't do it to themselves. They're making JP Morgan and Citi do it for them. To accommodate their institutional friends, a conversion peg will be set and certain assets move to the Fed chain. Center, USDC is backed by JP Morgan and BlackRock. Well, there you go. Hex 19 says may have to move where you can on and off to crypto and fiat for basic expenses, food, housing, transportation. The technology exists. We just haven't popularized it yet, which is interesting. Center is about to IPO on the stock market. What? No way. Everybody take note of that. Luna is not a typical crypto. I just finished helping another young client of mine in Hex. He is happy and excited. His mom is ordering a Trezor 2 today, and he wants it. Right on. Biggest problem I see right now is the Federal Reserve note is dying. We need real US dollars, sound money. That's why the flight into crypto, gold, and silver, one must discern as to which to get into. Don't want to get into the wrong thing, that's for sure. I mean, the Federal Reserve note dying, yeah, inflation's crazy, money printing is crazy. Like compared to everything else, it operates better than a lot of other national currencies. So it's the best that a lot of people have that they've built that trust with, even though it's been robbing from them. That's the thing about trust, is you could rob from somebody for a long time, and it's an inconvenient truth that people don't want to know, and that has its way of, again, through game theory and certain incentives, like, you know, you're not being educated on this. The education kind of has to come from the fringes and from people who are becoming a more and more rare group of critical thinkers. And people could think more critically, especially if they had more omega-3, probably. It's already here now, but it works. I personally use a Coinbase debit card with USDC for purchases and get 1% ETH back in gas. I've never had one issue yet. I don't onboard unless they buy a Trezor first and have one in hand, but I do share all the info in the meantime so we can start learning and help them get through the process. Right on. Wrench Gang. I agree if it works for you. This is from Tigil Bediz. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but not for them. A CBDC will be more in the interest of the Fed and its bank friends, and it will have draconian chain features as governments do. Probably agree with that. It's It's coming. It's, you know, better to not be in a fear mindset though. It's okay to predict negative things and uh, in moderation, like think about how bad it could be, like try to come up with solutions, try to find ways that you can benefit yourself and the people around you and make the world a better place in any corner where you see fit. Um, but you know, it, it also takes a balanced approach to stay mentally healthy and to not obsess and doom fear porn your life. Hex is the best house in a scary neighborhood, dangerous out in the crypto streets. Even for Hex, all boats go with the tide. David, where we add in indexing the chain, noticed it's not showing the percentage anymore because it got to 100%. Maddie, more mods can hit the chat faster. That reminded me of the sloth that works in DMV. Huh. It's just the block scan website. Those servers are a little slow and some of the block data may not show, but it's a scanner website. Zootopia. A dream about days in the future when 6 hex per T-share payout means a crazy amount like $50 a hex. Oh man. Hope to never experience suddenly wrecked syndrome. Good choice. I don't know what I think of Fiat because I haven't had him on and I've heard him on a couple other channels. So um, I want to know more. I think it's like, I'll give you my first impression because you asked, and because people respect my honesty. Some people do. Um, I think I heard that they like had a sacrifice and they didn't have it open very long and like only really like targeted certain people. So that seems a little bit um not completely transparent, like open to all. And maybe that's part of your strategy and maybe that works out well. And I'm gonna pay attention to that. But that's an important dynamic that's at play is like they supposedly I think opened the sacrifice for only a couple days and pressure people to get in really quick and um, like like there are some reputable people who got in and like, they seem to do their homework on it and like what they saw and everything. I believe it's a fork of Aave, so I'm interested to learn more. Um, so we are days away from the most anticipated new chain launch. Please get your coins and tokens in a wallet you have keys to. If you don't already have the position that you want and want to do nothing, can anyone describe what INC incentive token is? I believe it's a placeholder. I believe, well, is it that there's one form of it that's an actual duct taped on token that may or may not exist? And it's a placeholder possibly for certain coins that would be like bought. Basically, my understanding at this point is that like if you're launching a new coin and you want to give like a crazy high APY to get liquidity providers in the mix for like a temporary amount of time, like you think that you can give this insanely high APY to like get your story out there and to get a bunch of fans, and then maybe you're not going to rug pull, which you might have incentives to. Like I think the incentive token is basically where projects come in and basically give away like a bunch of their supply to people who are taking on so much risk as to provide liquidity for something, and maybe they assess the merits, or maybe they just look at this insanely high APY, like 1,000% a year more, and it's one way people get wrecked. I believe in yield farming, that sort of thing. So I think the incentive token is whatever the free market is saying, like whatever people are paying and trying to get in there, but it could operate differently in this system. I think other people might be able to answer that question better, but that's my current understanding. Maybe I'm answering it better than other people. I'm having to hold liquid HEX and it's killing me, not staked. I'd like to have a better ladder on PLS than what I got stuck with building on ETH. At least you know what you want, right? Liquid HEX is for trading and eating. Both should be done minimally, if at all, for trading. I only care about the price of T shares. I'm still working on full Quattro Cinco ladder. There you go. Hold liquid just for the bridge. Put money in IRA or Roth. Did you put money? I tried to make a trust. There was like a Roth 401k or something, but Coinbase was dragging their feet, and I was going to do it with another company, and I didn't get around to it. So there's ways to like do special stuff like that. Hex is my IRA. Okay. But you can hold, you can self-custody. You can have, there's such a thing as a self-custody, like Roth IRA, 401k, weird thing. It's like Rocket Dollar. John Wick told me about it. Got signed up. Still a questionable strategy, a trading play, which will depend on a variety of factors. OA action is the most important. Thank you. I will wait to stake. I just lost my spot. Wait to stake until after Pulsing goes live. Guess what? Luna just took our spot at 201. We're now in 202. LOL. Luna stopped trading on Binance like an hour ago at 0.0003. Ouch. Luna is at 0.000254 right now. Ouch. For newbies, it might be the best strategy to bridge HEX. For myself, it may be used to trade for PLS. Pretty sure large banks globally have their own intelligence arms for investing, etc. Don't quote me though. Thanks for a great time, everybody. What's going on? Hex the topic. Mr. Hex. If the debt markets go nuclear, it is okay to be diversified in something you can hold in your hand. He told everyone, bad texture, told everybody to sell Hex for Ampleforth. Hope they didn't. Spread the word and the Hex out there. Good to have many small hands out there holding Hex. Absolutely. Good to see you there, Rich the topic. By any name, you're just as cool of a community member. Glad to have you in the chat. Hex feels like a crypto certificate of deposit to me, with massive volatility at least. Tether's a scam in my opinion, says David Feeder. It will go the way of UST. It's not backed by anything. Interesting. B Hexy says, Maddie, you're so inspirational. Thanks for being so real about mental health. My pleasure. I'm glad people are here who can appreciate that and hopefully spread the word more. I never use stables. I think ETH can go to 800. Interesting. Luna's based out of Singapore. I was thinking USDC would be good to bridge to Pulse Chain, might be at a premium for those that just want to dump and run for the exit. Good point. And I think David's pointing out that you're probably meaning EUSDC will be good on Pulse X. It will be the best stable for some time. I think so too. Fear not, just stake and chill, baby. Similar to gold confiscation, crypto will get an offered conversion pegged to CBDC temporarily until a date at which it becomes contraband. You will take what you can get. It is super stressful working logistics and is not paying well enough. This is what happens. Sorry to hear that. Saying hi for the algorithm, launch soon. Thank you, Charity. Wake Dog, good to see you. Eventually, they will force banks only to deal in the government stablecoin or maybe a select few like USDC to exist. Maddie's optimism at all-time highs. CBDCs might be good. I don't know if I simplified it down that much or if I expressed that sentiment. I was trying to demonstrate critical thinking, if nothing else. Just specifically around the topic of TetherFed, and then I was thinking out loud about CBDCs, which, you know, the dollar is an evil thing for sure. It exports inflation to countries that don't deserve to pay for it. So it's not cool. CBDCs, like, am I arguing maybe they're already here to some extent? I think so. Are we going to have a moment where suddenly everything changes? Like, for those people who are not aware of how the world already is, yeah, maybe, but they might keep slipping into populism and being told that, you know, it's the rich versus the poor, and you know, it's not that simple. And centralized banking is bad because it doesn't work, and it benefits people unfairly, doesn't contribute to progress in society, like causes us to like print all this money at an exponential rate while technology is exponentially making things cheaper. So the prices of things stay the same or only 2x instead of 1,000x. Like, you know, yeah, but the reason why I would ever even think out loud and consider like CBDCs aren't all bad is because, again, so, you know, some people really can't take all that negativity and then do anything with it. You know, sometimes you have to titrate your negativity. Like, you can still be just as negative, but spread it out over a longer period, and like, don't deal with all the horrible atrocities of the world all at once. You know, go back and forth between things that are good about the world and are getting better and things that are getting worse. And you'll find that, again, if you're simply acting out of fear, then you could play into their hands more versus, but at the same time, I have just as much hope as I have realistic fear about the world. It's, in my opinion, it's worth fighting for. It's not decided yet. It's worth building for. Maybe not even fighting. It's worth building for, right? And that's what we're trying to do here by having these honest discussions about things that are perfectly reasonable to debate about. World War III, inflation, food shortage, recession coming soon. Hex keeps you sheltered from this. Stake and chill. It might not. I mean, Hex is still going to keep appreciating in value in Hex terms if it's staked, but in dollar terms, we don't know. And I hope that there are not major breakdowns in the supply chain. I hope that people wake up before then and fix them, make it better. You know? There's not an easy answer for all of the messes in the world, but somehow human progress continues. And it not being fair, I think the distribution of things really pits people against themselves when it doesn't help to be pitted against the people who are visible. Even, like, you know, there's people way richer than Elon Musk that like don't take any heat at all, right? So I don't know where I'm going with all this, but hoping that my perspective of like keeping balanced, at least thinking about it's not all bad things in the world. It's not already over. It's not decided yet that central banks will continue to be pure 1000% evil, and that they can't be defeated. And it's, like, um, there's good and bad in a lot of things. But Hex, yeah, I mean, like Hex has a better set of rules and probably has product market fit that could still work. I mean, not everybody in the world wants to save because they've had such bad experience with saving with the fiat currency, and so they need to be educated about how it's different. And to some extent, we create value because money is a belief system. So telling some people that the world economy is going to collapse, like that onboards them. Other people, it turns them off and they don't want to hear about it, that their life savings has been saved in something that's pure evil and that they've been robbed, and they don't realize that they're missing 95% of the wealth that they've saved. Like, or that the world is so abundant, they could have had so much more if the government wasn't and the corporations weren't like stealing the progress of technology to actually deflate things, make things cheaper. Like, that's not a cool story. And so when I think so deeply about game theory and about, like, if we only use fear to onboard people, we might not have the most resources to even compete in that market. Okay. So if we aren't even willing, some of us from a moral perspective, to like compete on that level of scaring people so bad that they'll buy gold or they'll stay in the dollar or whatever, right? Like, or they'll jump in and out of the stock market and get themselves wrecked trading, enriching the people who are spreading the lies. Like, if we're not willing to exaggerate and use all the dirty tricks that people use to manipulate and create fear, maybe it's good news that not everybody is going to respond to fear, and that we could have a happy story to tell too, to the people who want to hear the happy story. And that kind of brings me back to another idea that I've had throughout my time analyzing Hex, and that I spoke to Richard about at the Hex conference, and he really, like the online one, he really encouraged me to build something that I haven't had the right team to build yet. But the idea that the ideal way to onboard people is to have them tell us what the best marketing pitch is going to be before we present anything. So how I envisioned this is a kind of like a personality / IQ test. And when people do these things, they volunteer information that can then be used to give them, the pitch that works for them without, like overloading them with information that is not going to be relevant. Like, so for example, if somebody's doing a crypto IQ test and they're telling you that they already know a lot about Bitcoin, then you don't have to waste their time like explaining what Bitcoin is. You can jump to the next topic, and that's going to be way more attractive to them. Versus like some people are going to like the narrative of like fear the government and the dollar's evil and central bank digital currencies are coming and the collapse of the dollar and all this stuff. Like, but what kind of people are you attracting? It's good to have a variety of people. It's good to have people that like the happy story and people who like the sad story. Like, there are a lot of good things like about the world. fact that there is so much productivity and technological gains in the world that like the government is able to steal like so much, and still the prices of things have not 1000x'd, like, you know. um I mean, there are plenty of things to be afraid of, and our brains are wired to be afraid of those things first, to pay more attention to those things. But it doesn't make us happier, it doesn't make us more productive, it doesn't make us a lot of the things that we might value. So I think I think that there's a super strong case to um, give people the funnel that they're looking for, because that's how BlackRock and Ray Dalio and like all those guys are going to end up going anyway. But that's getting to compete um, at a level where we don't have to only have like one negative narrative, because then you're attracting all the people who act out of fear, and then you have to keep feeding them the best fear or get them locked up in something that is good for them, right? Or build more actual utility on top of Hex. I mean, we can debate whether it's a good thing or bad thing that um, that there's lending platforms being built and this and that, like all these tools. But like, I still think it'd be really cool to build tools where people can pay themselves to quit smoking, quit drinking, like do things that are healthy for them. That is going to onboard a whole new class of people, and it could be, an, you know, a new technology that's indispensable or highly valued. And when we make breakthroughs, it can change the balance of power in the world. And my deeper point on this topic is that if we ride the slippery slope and we play the same games that they're playing, we might turn into them. And that's, it sucks to say so seriously, but I see the slippery slope of being a broadcaster. I see the Bitcoiners and the sharks and the whales, and well, not our favorite whale, but there's a lot of deals being struck in the Hex community, supposedly, between like regulators. RG3 is going to Washington D.C. to like set them straight and lobby and that sort of thing. Wants to raise $600,000 because he saw that that's what was raised for the NASCAR. And RG3, like, he's cool, I think, but it's like that's a slippery slope. That's how Brian Armstrong and Coinbase, like everybody who said they were going to change the world, like they buddied up with the banks, and then now they have doors that can be kicked down. And how independent really are they? How true to crypto are they if they're making money off of listing shit that people trade, and that's how they make their money? Like they're going to create their own narratives to justify that. They're not even going to realize that they're the new bad guys. I don't want us to be the new bad guys. So that's why I'm bringing it up, that ruling by fear, getting people motivated by fear is probably not the entire skill set that we need. And I don't know, I'm glad you guys brought it up and pushed back, and helps me explore my own thoughts on the matter, and hopefully educate the audience better. So I think I'm getting just about caught up here to where I can sign off. It's been a pretty long stream and hopefully helpful for everybody. What's up, Taurus? Omega-3 time. Hey, I like that you take your Omega-3 around stream time here. Great stream, Maddie. Great info. Have to sleep. Good night. Good night, Craig. Future is bright for Hexagons and Pulsecans. I like to hear that. Benny Blanca, hey, thanks for saying it's good to see me. I know you never miss Hex Therapy, so I won't either. I'm in a good place. Wanted to stop in and say what's up. Keep on rocking. Benny, I think I saw a comment by you the other day that you've gone to substance abuse rehab and are doing well, I'm glad to hear it. And I would give you lots of encouragement, and I believe in you, and keep doing everything you can to avoid triggers, and you know, try to get yourself around the right people, places, and things that support your sobriety. Hopefully this stream will be one of them. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in today. Looks like everybody's satisfied with like the deep discussions that we've had. Hit the like and subscribe button. Really trying to get to 10,000 here. Let other people know about those links for the new challenge that we have, where I can pay people 911 pulse to, work on their mental health by addressing suicidality and following the links in the article. And let's see. So this is probably the last time you're going to see the old version of the intro. Oh, wait, we already showed it at the beginning. I will close out with some Jerry Springer here to bring it all around. And until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Hey, Richard, Jerry Springer here. And I just heard from Maddie, and, I got to tell you, I see a lot of conflict and tribalism in the crypto space. The doorbell, I'll get it. Bitcoin, Ethereum brought you a third layer. Oh no, CZ is spamming Ethereum. Look, Richard, thank you for your YouTube show promoting mental health. The world desperately needs it, and trust me, I'm in a position to know. I happen to know, by the way, Richard, that you are a man of good character, and you might well say to me, well, how do I know you're of good character? I'll tell you how I know. I checked our records, and as I look at them here, let me see. Richard, you have never been on my show. And that, of course, is a sign of good character. You don't ever want to be on the show. I mean, that would be awful. So good for you. Congratulations on your work. Keep it up. I hope 2021 turns out to be this wonderful year for you. And in the meantime, remember to take care of yourself and each other.